Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to RotoBaller Radio's Week 2 Waiver Wire Report. An early look at the waiver wire for Week 2 of your fantasy football season. Full disclosure, recording this Sunday before the Sunday night and before the Monday night matchups. That's why we call it an early look at the waiver wire. As always, we use Yahoo roster percentages for our talking points, trying to find players available in 50% or more of Yahoo leagues. Now, we start at the quarterback position here at the waiver wire simply because of the injury to Jordan Love on Friday night. MCL sprain, he'll be out 3 to 6 weeks, seemed to be the initial report. Okay, Malik Willis going to take over there. Not overly interested in there, not right away. I need somebody who can play next week. Now, maybe you drafted a Jared Goff or an Aaron Rodgers, paired it with Jordan Love, and you're not that concerned. But if you are worried about it, my top quarterback ad of the week has to be Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's 34% rostered on Yahoo, so he fits the profile of being available in leagues with that number. And he went, as we know, 24 of 30 for Tampa Bay. He looked fantastic. 289 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. In a 6-point per touchdown format, he finished with 37.6 fantasy points. He's got a nice matchup, not a great one, but an okay one, a doable matchup on the road next week against the Detroit Lions in what could be a high-scoring affair. Now, my second option at the quarterback position, and I'll list a few in order here for you, not coming off a great game, but Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns. Now, Dallas was all over him. They had over 20 pressures, and I think it was 5 sacks. They hit him almost every time he threw the ball. Now, Deshaun Watson is 33% rostered, and you're saying, Anthony, he got beat up. He was 24 of 45, only 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 5 rushes for 39 yards. It wasn't overly impressive, right? 12.6 fantasy points. So why do you have him number 2? Well, the reason I have him number 2 on the list of quarterbacks right now is his upcoming schedule. Next week, it's at Jacksonville. Tua had a nice game. Tyreek Hill had a nice game. Jalen Waddle had a nice game against the Jaguars defense. Then it's against the New York Giants. Sam Darnold had a very nice game against them. No concerns there. Then it's at the Vegas Raiders. Okay, Justin Herbert and the Chargers got the win there. And then at the Washington Commanders, whose defense was lit up in week 1 as well. So, although statistically not a game for Deshaun Watson, I have him number 2 behind Baker Mayfield because of that schedule coming up, which will coincide with Jordan Love being out. Other quarterbacks available, Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints had a monster week 1, 19 of 23, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran the ball twice for 13 yards. He's available in 90% of Yahoo leagues, 27.3 fantasy points. Reason he's not higher? To replace Jordan Love, tough matchup next week on the road in Dallas. Also, Sam Darnold, 10% roster, 90% available. Made it look easy against the Giant defense, 19 of 24, 208, 2 touchdowns and a pick on a deflected pass. 3 runs for only 3 yards, 18.6 fantasy points. Why isn't he rated higher? Week 2 is against the 49ers. And then finally, Justin Fields of Pittsburgh, 14% rostered, available in 86% of leagues. 17 of 23, 156 yards. He did run 14 times, 457, giving him 11.9 fantasy points. He's on the road against the Denver Broncos, but the question remains, will he start or will the Pittsburgh Steelers go back to Russell Wilson like their original plan was? Fields got to start today because Wilson was unable to go. Other players at other positions to be mindful of here for week 2 of the fantasy seasons. Running back, if you're looking for help at the running back position, it became very apparent who the best running back on the Chargers was. It's not Gus Edwards, it was J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins, 48% rostered, so this will be the only time we get to mention him. He's available in 52% of leagues. He had a monster game, 10 carries, 135 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 catches on 3 targets for 4 yards, 22.9 fantasy points, and a terrific matchup next week for J.K. Dobbins against the Carolina Panthers. Not only will you add him, you will get him in your lineups for week 2 against Carolina. Other running backs to consider, although not to the extent of J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill of the Baltimore Ravens on opening night on Thursday was a PPR him to death machine. He's available in 96% of leagues. 6 catches, 52 receiving yards on 8 targets, only 1 carry for 3. Can't count on him to run the ball, not with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry there. If you have Derrick Henry, though, Justice Hill is a nice handcuff to have. And if you're looking for some PPR options down the road in bye weeks and due to injury, Justice Hill, if he continues maintaining that target share, could be effective. He finished with 11.5 fantasy points against the Vegas Raiders in Week 2. Also available, Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Available in only rostered in only 5% of leagues. Available in 95% of leagues. Essentially at a 50-50 carry share with Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Etienne went 12 carries, 44 yards, and a touch. Tank Bigsby, 12 carries for 73 yards. Looked better than Etienne. 6.1 yards per carry. No action for Tank Bigsby in the passing game. So he finished with 7.3 fantasy points. Goes up against Cleveland in Week 2. And finally, Bucky Irving. Rashad White had a nice game. I believe he finished with 16 fantasy points, but Bucky Irving at 20% rostered makes him 80% available. If you have Rashad White, you may want Irving on your team. Bucky Irving, 9 carries for 62 yards, 2 catches for 14, as the Tampa Bay Bucks are on the road against the Detroit Lions. A couple of wide receivers to mention here. Nobody to me is a priority ad, but players to be mindful of if you have roster spots or injuries. Alec Pierce of the Indianapolis Colts, 1% roster, 99% available. Only 3 targets, but he made the most of them, 125 yards and a touchdown, including the 60-yarder from Anthony Richardson, 21.5 fantasy points. Indianapolis is on the road against the Green Bay Packers. And as dismal as they were, Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants did catch my eye strictly because of the targets. 12 targets on the week, tied for the most targets by a wide receiver across the league on Sunday afternoon. He's 90% available. Didn't do much with those 12 targets. 6 catches for 44 yards, 11.8 fantasy points. I think he carried the ball once as well. But they do go against Washington. That Washington defense was beat up, no doubt about it. Not very good. Baker Mayfield lit him up. I don't expect the same from Daniel Jones, but Wan'Dale Robinson can be another target monster for Daniel Jones next week against the Washington Commanders. And finally, if you need a tight end, the obvious ad is Isaiah Likely of the Baltimore Ravens. 28% rostered, 9 catches, 111 yards, a touchdown, almost another touchdown, 12 targets, goes up against Vegas next week. He is a priority ad as well. You know, priority ads for me, if you lose Jordan Love, it's Baker Mayfield. J.K. Dobbins is a priority ad at the running back position, and Isaiah Likely, the other priority ad from the Baltimore Ravens. So to recap, my Week 2 waiver wire ads of the week: quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, and Justin Fields in that order. Running back, J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, Tank Bigsby, Bucky Irving. Wide receivers, Alec Pierce and Wan'Dale Robinson. And tight end, Isaiah Likely. Don't forget, folks, go to RotoBaller.com right now. Sign up for a premium pass, the NFL Premium Pass for the rest of the season. Use the promotional code ACES and save at checkout. Like and subscribe right here to the RotoBaller YouTube channel. Download the app. It's free as well. All the content online available on the app, so take advantage of that. Give me a follow on Twitter or X at @Aniano Fantasy, and we will see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.